Spanish on my dad's side and Filipino on my mama's side. Christina M. Hi, I was watching you on YouTube, but I couldn't communicate with you. Followed you to this place. Wonderful. Yeah, I'm apologies there. I'm not on YouTube as much. I do my best not to be too much on screens. And I realize it's necessary in order to share the message. Thank you for the heart. Eyes, thank you. Appreciate you. Title gifter. There we go. Lit up. So everyone that is tapping the screen, thank you. Everyone that's sending gifts, thank you. Bless you. Right now we're at 4.6 thousand likes. The higher we get this number, and the goal for the next year, I'm probably going to be doing these lives things for the next year and a half or so to see really how it goes. But the goal is to get up in the ranking. Like if you guys click this button, this ranking, this popular live, it's going to show you a bunch of lives of people that are like playing video games or like doing makeup tutorials or like doing the NPC thing. There's very few, there's maybe like one or two people in the ranking that are actually doing something that to me is like contributing to the world outside of entertainment. Like what we do here, this is education. And education not in the sense of I'm teaching you things, but education in the sense that I'm going to say things and bring things up that'll hopefully help whatever is inside you come to the surface. The education, educo is Latin for leading out. So to educate somebody is not putting things in their brain. I'm not here to put things in your brain. I'm here to help lead out whatever is inside you that wants to be manifested. And we do that specifically through human design, which let's see if I can get a chart up here again, because this is what crashed my phone last time. But also, I had the weak charger in, and now I have the strong charger. So let's see, whose chart do we want to use? Let's use this one. So this is a body graph. If you guys have never seen this body graph before, or you don't know what yours looks like, just go to my website. It's reikimarco.com. Plug in your information and you can get one of these. I do sell reports. I do also do readings to answer your question, Liquid Sunshine. All of that is available on my bio. If you want a report, generate your body graph and you'll see reports. There's two of them. One just does an analysis. That's the custom report. The Reiki report will do an analysis and it will give you the like beginner's guide for human design, as well as techniques on how to embody your design. And then the readings, if you scroll down, you'll see my calendar. You've got the 3730. So this is fun. Let's talk about this one because this one's actually, I wouldn't say it's mysterious, but it's very misunderstood, right? This right here is really all about like the handshakes that you get to do. Angela, the program is actually Neutrino Design, which is the app that I use. I was like, I really did not like the program that I was using prior to using Neutrino Design. So I asked the developer to set that up, and that may be something that's available to the public in the future. Right now, it's just for a handful of people to be able to sell reports and things. But the goal, exactly, right? So the goal is like eventually this can be a service that, you know, anyone can have the widget on their website and generate body graphs. But for now, it's just a more exclusive thing. But again, the developer is awesome and he is listening. So it's only a matter of time before we have more features like this available. I love that app for real. Yeah, it's so cool. I was like showing people this app at the festival that I was at, and you know, people were like, "Oh, my app doesn't do that," and I'm like, "Yeah, none of the apps do that." Is the 360 channel as hard as they say? So this is really interesting because, you know, friends, I was talking about this, and you're asking about this channel right here, like. These two are very different channels naturally, but this 360, it's hard in the sense that a lot of people don't understand how to properly utilize melancholy, because this right here is what these three channels down here are called: format channels. You've got collective formatting on the sides and then individual formatting in the center. And what this does is this makes you aware of your limitations, the 60 does, and specifically like the need to like push through them. Yeah. I'm like, how do I do those things? Hello, Jnet. You're the best. I love all these gifts. Thank you so much. I didn't even realize, by the way, that the gifts actually translate to like actual money. Totally did not realize that. I thought it was just like in game or in TikTok coins that you use for like advertising and stuff, but I guess it translates to actual dollars and cents, which is awesome. So again, thank you for the donations. Thank you for the gifts. Um, but this channel is combination of the pressure to move through your limitations, and then three is the pulse of like now is the time to move through your limitations. And again, they're different things. Pressure is like water is building up at the dam. The three is the okay, it's time to spill the dam. As the water is building up, that's when you're gonna have those like, and even though this isn't the emotional center, this formats the emotional wave, because what it's doing is it's showing you your relationship with when the pressure is building, and your relationship with when the thing goes down. I can't wait until I have my schoolie. Brandy Lee, blessings on your schoolie, my friend. I hope you get it, and work very hard on it because they're super fun. I just put a new bed in. I used to have, it's actually the same bed, it just has another topper on top. But anyway, Pluto is on the 60 for this third pass. Finally be done by December. Talking about the transits, Angela. Yeah, Pluto takes a long time to move through things, which is not always fun. My Mercury is 60.4, so I appreciate the reminder about the melancholy. Totally. And again, one thing about human design is just because you don't have the gate doesn't mean you won't experience that thing. Oftentimes people ask, like, is it possible to activate these gates even if you don't have them? And I said, you're not going to be able to activate them, but by nature and by connection with other people, they will become active. But that's not the point. The point is to recognize what's not active consistently and let it be that way. You don't need everything active in order to live a good life. Whatever you have activated already, that's enough. You just have to learn how to make use of what you have. It's like building a sandcastle. If you don't have a bucket, use the shovel that you got. You can spend all the time like pretending you have a bucket or waiting for somebody to come around with a bucket. You could also build a cool sandhouse with a shovel. And yeah, it's really about accepting your limitations. And so when when you are aware of the pressure building, like for instance, for me, I have it so often. I have it right now. I have a membership portal that is totally just annoying as heck, and I feel it as a limitation, but I also don't feel the pulse, the inspiration to fully transition things over. And until I do that, until I do feel that pulse, I'm not going to try and relieve the pressure. I'm gonna use that and like gas myself up and go live where I actually do feel inspired to do things. Because there's a lot more freedom, and again, accepting limitations and channeling that energy where you are inspired to send it to, than just burning yourself out trying to transcend a limitation, because sometimes it's not time to transcend that limitation. Sometimes it's not time to bust through that. Sometimes you need more pressure and more heat. So many people mad about design, saying they're not this and that. Core ego wounds like this, imperfect. Exactly. And this is why I like classic human design as opposed to like quantum human design or gene keys. Gene keys isn't so bad, but quantum human design, in my opinion, and no offense to anyone who loves quantum human design or it helps them, cool. To me, I'm like, it's too fluffy. I need cutting language. I need like limitation. I need provocation down here. I need like alertness. I need these I need a system of spirituality that's not trying to make things like sugar coated. I need a system that's like actually going to help me find those wounds or find those ego complexes or find those mental patterns, so that way I can actually be aware of them rather than thinking it's something else. Because like for instance, anxiety comes from up here. If anyone has anxiety in the chat, just put like a brain in the chat. Also, if you're enjoying this, if you guys don't mind tapping the screen so we can get this ranking up, that would be sweet. Super appreciate that. But if you have anxiety, whether you think it's a lot of anxiety or a normal amount of anxiety, put a brain in the chat. Um, just so number one, I'll know. But more importantly, it's like so no one people don't want to have anxiety. But that's like people not wanting to have thoughts. That's like not wanting your heart to pump blood. That's like not wanting your stomach to digest things. To Jenny would appreciate the taps too. Yes, thank you. Your thinking is like fueled by anxiety. The way you think is fueled by anxiety. Same thing with fear. Like if you don't have fear, then you don't have a sense of danger. If you don't have moodiness and emotions, then you don't have relationships. You don't have a connection to God. You don't have a connection to your friends. Emotionally unavailable people. You've heard people talk about that before. It means that someone's not able to connect with someone beyond like the physical, right? It means you don't feel anything when you're with someone. And so, with anxiety specifically, because it's labeled as like a mental health issue, it's not the anxiety that's the problem. It's how people respond to the anxiety. Who's designed with this with the unconscious 3740? I think this is who is this? This might have been one of the readings that I did. Yeah, it means you're a sociopath if you don't have it exactly. I'm just getting into all of this due to an unexpected awakening, my breakup being the catalyst. Oh, thanks for sharing, Brandy. Yeah, breakups are so powerful like that. Just super catalyzing. I've had a handful of breakups that really activated me in some good ways and put me on my path further. But again, breakups, anxiety, fear. Currently, we're burning that, that is a little bit of myrrh, which my uncle gave me in exchange for helping him move some things to his new place. Um, so if you want to make your body graph, just visit my website, reikimarco.com. The link is in my bio. Plug in your birth information and it'll spit you out one of these. Yeah. Let's see. Projector 4-6 and psychic and all kinds of cool shit. Yeah, let's go. Thought it was in I thought it was Limerence, unable to self-regulate, actually admitted myself to a mental hospital. Turns out I'm not bipolar, ADHD, and depressed, just a projector for yeah. Oh my god, Brandy, that's hilarious. So over here on YouTube, we have two people, which is awesome. Brandy and then some mysterious watcher, which could be my mom. But she mentioned that she actually admitted herself to a mental hospital, and it turns out she's not bipolar, ADHD, depressed, or etc. She's just a projector, 4-6, which is so important. And it's like that's the thing. It's like anxiety, fear, emotions. Those are not the problem. Those are working fine. It's when you attempt to suppress it or to blame other people for it, not taking responsibility for the anxiety, fear, or emotions. That's when you run into problems, right? Mine is not clear. I am a reflector. Right. So as a reflector, and this is a cool concept to bring forward. So for everyone that's watching at any level, when you have an undefined center like this is white, right? That one's white. These are colored in. The colored in centers are generally going to be more consistent. As a reflector, we have all white centers, meaning that all of our energy centers are going to be sampling energy from the people and the environment around us. Projectors typically have a lot of open centers as well. And one thing about the consistency or the regularity for a reflector or even projector and manifester, but like I don't measure my life based off how consistent I am, right? It's really not about that for me. There are certain rhythms that if they're not in place, like moving my body, like I have some things that I do in the morning pretty much every morning, and if I don't do those, I find other places for them. The thing about it is when you have fully undefined centers, you don't have to, you get to discover different ways to meet your own needs. Like for like a couple months, there was a couple months where I was like every morning going to the gym. And then I kept doing that and I realized like I don't want to be doing this anymore. This energy is not really what I like. Jenny the Gin. I love that for you. Oh my God. Okay. That's powerful. So Anne, yeah, my invitation for you is to, you know, discover or like really pay attention to where you're attempting to solidify something and taking one of these undefined centers and defining it. Because again, you don't want to like the goal of human design is not to fill in all the gaps. The goal is to be aware of where you're trying to fill in the gaps. The same way where it's like, and the goal of anxiety is not to end anxiety. The goal of anxiety is to channel it onto a worthwhile thing until something more worthwhile comes along to channel it. Same thing with emotions, right? You channel emotions into art, into music, into dance, or it gets suppressed and unintentionally channeled into causing drama and conflict. It gets unintentionally channeled into self harm. Same thing with fear. You either take care of this splenic awareness, which is more about survival and your health, either channel that well, or it just, it turns into being afraid of everything, basically. So if you want to figure out what your body graph looks like and your aura type, just visit the link in my bio, reikimarco.com. This number is high already, guys. 14. We got 10,000 likes in the last like 15 minutes. You guys are awesome. I love it. You guys rock. I was trying to say you guys rock and you guys are awesome at the same time. Didn't work out. By the way, lesson for anyone with a third line, and it's definitely because the Gin Jenny showed up because our our resident cheer captain. We'll call it that. You're our cheer captain, straight up. Jen been here since the beginning of the live journey, and I'm super grateful. Handful of other people's. Tim has been here since the beginning, since before the beginning. Um, yeah, I think there's been a lot of really good people. Hopefully they'll come back. This last week again, I was preparing for this event that I did. So I didn't get it to go live as much because a lot of the normally the times that I do this has been dedicated towards making sure that our event pops off in a good way, which it definitely did. Tap, tap, tap. Tapping is clapping straight. Clap it up, my friends. So yeah, so anyway, if anyone it has a third line, I have a message for you because I was talking to somebody about the third line energy, and I'm a 3-5 reflector, and the third line is all about like trial and error, making mistakes, and I'm a a recovering perfectionist. Like there's a lot of me. It's like, oh, my YouTube, you can see my trash and stuff, right? In on screen on YouTube, you can see my bed. You can see, it's not like perfect, but I've recognized that, and the more that I've accepted that, the more stuff happens. And this isn't necessarily for everyone. This is particularly for third lines, although it's definitely something that people ought to embrace. I realized that I used to like judge myself a lot for not being picture perfect, and that prevented me from doing so many things. And when I started catching that perfectionist judge in the little things like banging my toe on things or not solving things immediately, can definitely recognize this as a six line as well. um yeah, man, just life just got so much like more easeful. Like life opened up to me more. I felt like I was able to communicate with life a little bit more because again, when you're obsessing over perfection, there's not a whole lot that can happen because conceptual perfection is different than expressed perfection. And I realized that for me as a 3-5, my expressed perfection involves mistakes, involves conceptual imperfection. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with anyone who is feeling like a perfectionist. Like, hey, maybe just put the thing out there. Because another quote that really helped me was from a performance artist. He was a musician, or he is a musician. He's actually blowing up right now. Adam Knight. If any of you want to look him up, his name's Adam Knight. Incredible musician. But he told me, he goes, every performance that I do is worth 10 practices because I care so much more about the performance. There's more on the line, right? And it's the same thing with like fighting and training. Every fight that you do is worth 10 sparring sessions. So anyway, let's see. I'm just barely learning about human design and got my chart from the My Human Design app. That is an app that you can use. We use Neutrino Design, which is probably more affordable, I think, than My Human Design app, and is definitely has a lot of features that none of the other apps have. Just to say. So if you did want to check out Neutrino Design, and you can actually get it for 25% off because I have a partnership with the developer. He's an incredible dude, and it's like he's always implementing new things. You can do composites, you can do transits, you can share charts, you can add tags to your charts. Incredible. Let's see, I'm new to human design. What does it exactly mean to be a generator? So this is the center for generators, and I know YouTube you can't see it, but it's the second center from the bottom. It's the red square. If you're looking at one of my body graph on my website, it's the red square, and it's the second one from the bottom. And the 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 keynote for the generator is satisfaction, uh, sexual and creative energy. So the idea is that your body is going to consistently generate creative sexual energy, and it's going to tell you what it's supposed to be used for based off of what's called a sacral response. So for instance, right, I'm burning I'm burning things over here, burning frankincense and myrrh. And if you were in here, your gut would have a response. It would either go, like, mm, it'd be like a positive sacral response, or it would be like a, oh, like a disgust, like I want to get out of here. As a generator, your mission in life is to follow those sacral responses because, in a nutshell, that's how you become satisfied. Um, is there only Is there only one way to practice Reiki? Is there an only way to practice Reiki? Not necessarily. And I would say actually now that I've been Reikified, I've been doing Reiki for since 2012. It's like 12 years now. Wow. Time moves differently when you have children, guys. Um, there's not one way to channel Reiki. There's a way that's been solidified. And if we're looking at a way, the best way to channel Reiki is to like take care of yourself. Um, but there are actually many different traditions and ways. The idea with Reiki is that, and it's not actually a healing modality, it's a harmonious life that's supported by a peaceful mind. And this is why I'm so into human design, is because this helps me to, in a way, pacify my mind and allows me to drop into my body and discover where is there like harmony that's being inhibited or like distorted. Right? Have you met another reflector in real life? What was that interaction like as a reflector? Yes. So definitely I have met plenty of reflectors, and it's very interesting actually because I've never met a reflector that is like more advanced in terms of like spirituality and somatic healing than I am. And that is just something that I noted. And so a lot of the times I step into this kind of like father figure energy, um, which is really fun. But yeah, so it's been like that, very much so, like, inviting the project or inviting the reflector into their lunar cycle, inviting them into taking better account of the energies that they're holding in their body. I say, and how can we quiet the mind? Because so you don't quiet the mind. It's actually a you don't want to quiet the mind. You want to notice when the mind is quiet, and then you want to notice when the mind is chatty. And in noticing that, you also want to notice the things around you and what kind of stimulation or what inspiration, what pressure is driving the mind. Because again, not wanting the mind to think or wanting the mind to be quiet when it's chatty is like your heart pumps blood faster when you need more circulation. Your digestion will slow down when there's something inhibiting it. And so the same thing with the mind. The thinking is just a part of the equation. What's fueling the thinking? A lot of the times, especially with reflectors and projectors, we will have something like this where it's like you have the undefined head, which this is pressure to think, and this is how you think. So for instance, with the undefined pressure center, you might be inspired by everybody else's problems and thinking about them, but they're not relevant to you. And so it's very important to, when it comes to quieting the mind, you look at the pressures that you have on the mind and consider, like, is this a healthy pressure for me to be exposing my mind to, or do I need to change environments, change dynamics with people? So very, very important to recognize that, because again, thinking is not a problem. It's thinking about stuff that's like not relevant to you that's kind of the problem. um, and again, that can be spun in a lot of different ways. Like, people ask me all the time, like, isn't it selfish to do that? And I'm like, what's more selfish, lying to people or being honest with yourself? Truly. Thank you for explaining it more. Already learning more. The map design feels like a new language. Human design is totally a new language. And again, it's something that's really worth developing. I've been in the spiritual world for, yeah, over a dozen years now. It's been a dozen years. And it's so helpful to learn this language, because this is language that across the board is relevant. I've had overthinking about other people's problems, and I've learned to say, nope, that's not mine. Exactly. And then it's like, you can you when you will start to learn to distinguish the flavor of, oh, I'm thinking about so and so's problems, right? Oh, I'm thinking about my problems. Okay, well, sometimes it's a good distraction to get away from my problem, because you can obsess over your own problems as well, that are relevant to you. But then sometimes that will burn you out as well. So sometimes having other people's problems to think about is helpful. You just, again, you don't want to get stuck in your problems or in other people's problems. You, as a reflector, especially someone with an undefined head, you're going to want to be able to move back and forth between all that. So what does inner vision mean as cognition in the Neutrino app? I have a subscription. Yeah, I totally get you. And again, the language will take some time to set in, but inner vision and outer vision. Outer vision is what you would call proprioception. So for instance, if I were to close my eyes, I know that my incense are burning right here. This is outer vision, proprioception. I'm not using my eyeballs, they're closed, but I have a sense of an outer vision. My mouse is right here, my phone is right here, right? So I have a sense. I don't need to see, but it's a sense for things outside of my body. Inner vision is literally that inside the body. So one thing that would be good for you to do is, during your meditations, consider, what does the inside of your index finger on your left hand feel like? What does the inside or the left side of your heart feel like? What does your right lung feel like? That's the inner vision that we're talking about cultivating. Is It's literally the vision of the world that's inside you. And starting with the physical organs will then lead you to more non-physical pieces. When I first started human design, which not self undefined center did you find was very prominent in your life? Oh, such a cool question. Um, I would say probably the head. Like, I got a lot of validation from, like, having good ideas and sharing them with people, and I was addicted to it. And by addicted to it, I mean, like, I was giving a lot of my energy, but I wasn't receiving anything from it. That's kind of my definition of addiction, because it's like, for instance, I'm addicted to food, but I also get a lot from food. If you're addicted to meth, or addicted to crack, or addicted to a person, right, in a relationship, but you're not receiving anything, there's no reciprocity, that quickly destabilizes both things in a lot of ways. It's very parasitic by nature, and I don't think it's not something that I want to participate in. And so for me, yeah, it was the undefined head. And then I would say also the undefined solar plexus, because I really did not I spent a lot of time solving other people's problems, and I didn't spend enough time confronting things in my life. Right? Oof, as a reflector, I'm the same way with the undefined head and also heart. Yeah. The need to prove myself was less online, because I would typically, like, forego leadership. I'd be like, "Oh, I don't need to lead this. You lead this. You need this more than I do," but etc. Um, and it's not that it was wrong, so much as it was just like, it was not really it wasn't really giving me any opportunities to consider myself. And that's one thing, is like, human design is so beautiful, because it's really asking the question like, well, how do you actually feel about this? Oh, I said the M word. I talked about the the bad things, so they restricted me. Anyway, hey, I love your video. Tarot's Divine Path. I do lives. This is actually kind of recent. I'm maybe like a month in to doing lives. How are we looking on this? 18,000. Man, I remember when 18,000 likes was like a big thing for me. I think Jenny probably knows best. I think we hit like 50,000 likes one week, um, which is awesome. But thank you guys so much for all the likes and all the questions too. Questions this live have been really wonderful. So Tim says I have a totally open solar plexus. That's the center right here, heart and heart. So it gives hard to confront things. I've learned it give power. When do I confront it? Great question. So one of the biggest things about confrontation that I've learned is that just naturally as a reflector, I'm going to feel not only my own challenge in like confronting something, but also I'm going to feel the other person's challenge in receiving it. And one of the things that I've had to learn how to do was actually dial back the empathy. And the way that I did that, as I say, we hit 60K. Oh, that's right. That's right. That's right. I remember that. Which we might be end up doing. I have a really good friend on island who is an incredible musician, so we might start doing some more like music oriented lives. If you guys are into that. Um, but yeah, so dialing back the empathy. How do you dial back the empathy on someone so that I can focus more on my own ability to deliver something that's challenging. So for me, my main breathing technique is I call it the dragon's breath. Basically, when you inhale naturally, your stomach expands, and when you exhale, what's up, Adrian? It's me. And then when you exhale, your stomach goes in. So the dragon's breath is kind of the opposite. What we're gonna do is we're gonna inhale and we're gonna suck in our belly, and then when we exhale, push the belly out. So this is for me the way I seal my aura. So inhale, suck in the belly, exhale, push the belly out. That's counter to what normally our breath is like, the normal breath is supposed to be like. And it helps me seal up my aura. And then I recognize in terms of when to share, it's usually about the other person because like I'm saying, is most of the time the other person is they're not going to like ask you like, hey, do you have anything to share? Um, but really it's about looking for kind of these openings in people's auras where it's like, oh, so and so is usually what I'll do honestly is I'll wait for that opening. And sometimes I wait a long time and I don't actually end up ever getting to like clear the thing that I get to that I want to clear. Um, and so in the confrontation, part of that is like, well, what happens if I never get to confront this? What do I have to do for myself if I never get to like clearly confront this? And sometimes it's like I write letters, is kind of one of my things. I'll write letters or sometimes I'll write songs. That was more so for back when I was dating and getting my heart broken. But you know, one of the things that I realized is that in terms of like healing, you know, being clear on like what I need from somebody, I never need anything from anybody. I don't need an apology. I want an apology. I don't need a promise. I want a promise. What do I need for myself? I actually need to lower the expectations that I have of this person. I actually need to stop going to this person's things and hanging out with this person because they're not giving me any openings to confront or clear any of this energy. So again, a lot of it sometimes when do I confront this is never, because the person is not open to it. And peace. Yeah. Anyway, that was a good one. Hey Marco, hey everyone. Hey Sadie. Much love to you. My hardest thing is waiting for the invitation. I took it too literal. And the only time I think that projectors should not wait for an invitation is if there's some kind of like danger to their health or danger to their mental or emotional state. Like, don't wait for that's the invitation to get out. If someone is harming you in any kind of mentally, physical, or emotional or spiritual way, that's the invitation to leave. Because you don't need to wait for somebody to invite you out of a toxic relationship. Um, so some people have gotten that. Like I think Brandy said, she took it too literal. Um, yeah, that's definitely something that you want to be really mindful of when it comes to like situations that are compromising you in that way. And also, if you have friends around who like can give you invitations, that's helpful. I realize it's not always in the 3D universe. My intuition, yeah. Sometimes your intuition will invite you out of things. It's when other people, when you're going to do something with other people, like your intuition might say, like, hey, go work with those people. But unless there's an invitation, if you go and try and initiate on those people, that may not go so well. So, anyway, something really to think about. Tim, much love to you, brother. Have a wonderful day. Aloha. Let's see. For someone new to human design, where do you suggest I begin to study my chart? So, when you have your chart, the first two things that you need to really pound in, this is like the floor of your building or the subfloor of your building, is strategy and authority. Really find out where those two things show up in your body. The next place that you want to go to is typically going to be centers. Okay. Figure out what an undefined center's normal or natural state of being is, and then figure out what the distorted version of it is. Figure out what the natural state of the heart is, and then figure out the distorted state. And if you have neutrino design or you get any of my reports, there will be information not only on the centers, because that would be step two. After you do the centers, then I would look at the channels. And then after you look at the channels, then I would start to look at some of these hanging gates, right? And dormant gates, if you have any. But that in and of itself will take a long time. Is Shaolin Luke up in here? Luke! That's my boy right there. I was trying to show everyone your chart and then my phone died, but it's back now. How do you find love with an undefined G center? How do you go looking for it? No, so the great question, Larry, you are on point with these questions. So having an undefined G center really is like, what you want to understand is you're here to recognize other people's direction, other people's identity, and the way other people receive love, right? It's not about actually getting or looking for anything other than like you see how other people do it and you're able to appreciate the way they do it. Now, what you can do is like put the mask on, move in that direction for a little bit, try that identity out. What you want to avoid doing is never taking the mask off, right? Because it's okay to like, receive love and validation in the way that somebody else receives it. What's not okay for the undefined G is to constantly be looking for it in the same spot. It's almost like an elf that moves. Like for somebody with a defined G center, like there's a mine with a lot of ore and it's always in the same place. For a person with an undefined G center, it's like a goblin with a thing on its back and it runs around, so it's always in a different place. So you have to like look for it in different places and not necessarily look for it, but you'll be able to find it in different places. And the trail that you follow is by recognizing and being around people that are moving in a direction that's correct for them, or moving in or receiving love in a way that's correct for them. For someone with the completely open solar plexus or so completely open G center, again, your identity is going to change, right? You're not going to, for this person in particular, you're not going to answer the question, who am I? The best thing you can do for yourself is stop asking, who am I? Start asking, who are you? And if you want to ask yourself anything, it's how do I feel about you? And how do I feel about my community? How do I feel about my self-empowerment? How do I feel about my stories and my ability to stimulate and be stimulating in my speech? Because all of these areas where you have channels and definition, again, that's where the cave is always going to be. You can always go mine at that cave. These undefined centers, it's like you just move through life, and you're going to be able to see people mining at their cave. You can hop in the cave with them, but you don't live in their cave now and mine for them. So anyway, imagine this guy being one of your in real life BFFs and how amazing it would be. That's my bro Luke. Now imagine living 3 minutes away. By the way, Luke, if you're home, what's up? You know how it goes. We be doing live, and then we got some sessions. Sips besto friend. I know. I need to get myself one of those mugs, but I don't know what I don't know why I didn't get two of them. Nicole, thank you. I love smiling. I love smiling. Jenny bought my report, and it's magnificent. Yes, I love it. Tell me why I thought I was looking at a concert seating chart. It kind of does look like a concert. So one of the things that I love about this is human design is it's such a visual system. Like if you look at your chart, it's literally like a map. It's like these are the areas, not necessarily that are safe to explore, but are like consistent areas. And then these areas are like wilderness. Like sometimes sometimes you're getting you have a sense of direction because of you're with this person, and then sometimes you don't need a sense of direction because this person doesn't have one either, and it's like we don't need to go anywhere, or we don't need to answer that question, who am I, and so it's just a real beautiful life, and it's chaotic. But if you have human design, it's less jarring. The chaos is less jarring when you have human design, and the ability to accept the chaos becomes in my opinion, it becomes a lot easier to accept the chaos when you have a system like human design. I'm just figuring out how to use this big, I forget what it's called, my cauldron, my mini cauldron. But it's great, putting off a lot of good vibes. So anyway, very little of my chart is colored in. Yeah, none of my chart is colored in, which is awesome. I love it. But if you're very little of your chart is colored in, again what it means, and actually, joint records, which centers. Because again, it's like my partner has these two. My partner has the spleen and the root, and so for her, you know, for me, it's like, hey, are you taking care of your health? Because that's spleen. And then also, what is your relationship to stress in this moment? Is there things that are stressing you out that you need to get done? Do you feel maybe like you don't have enough stress? Because for someone with the defined root, if there's not enough stress, they'll create stress, right? If there's too much stress, right, they'll feel burnt out. Through learning and understanding HD, I've become a better parent. They feel more understood by me. Yes, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I want to, like, straight up real talk. Like, I love the attention. I'm not gonna lie. I love the attention. I love being the one talking. Um, but really what I love more than anything is when people take things that I'm sharing, or take, a thing that I pointed to, and they rock with it and they use it to make their lives better. That is like, I love that so much. And really what I've been wanting to do with my business and this whole human design, Reiki, Marco, embody human design thing, is find ways to just make this more accessible. And what I've found here with these lives is that this is one of the best ways to deliver um, the goods, and people are literally using it, and I get to see it in real time happen. And so it's been so good. So Janet, thank you so much. I understand why you're subbing, and you've got the gifts flowing with the abundance. It's really, I can feel that. So thank you. The middle two, and then the one on the left. So is it, when you're looking at the chart, so like these two and that one, so generator, splenic, and all that. Yeah. So then that means that other people's thoughts, the way other people think, the way other people get attention, other people's egos, other people's emotions, and then other people's stress and pressure, you're going to feel that. And again, it's there's nothing broken with you. It with these openness, you just have to recognize like, okay, I'm feeling something, right? Well, is it health related to your body? Because that would be spleen. Is it emotional? Some kind of feeling or nervousness or moodiness? Because that's in an undefined center. If you're feeling emotions, consider, hey, let me take care of my body. Let me take care of my body. Okay, splenic projector, that helps. So then you probably have these two. Boom, 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 right? Spleen, G center, throat. So what you're going to do is instead of like hyper focusing on emotions, what you're going to want to do is come back to your spleen, come back to your point of authority. And this is for anyone. If you're feeling anything in your undefined centers and it's like deregulating you, come back to your point of authority. For splenic people, I highly recommend sprinting, throwing things, kicking, punching a bag, um, making and cooking your own food. All of that stuff is really helpful. Anything you can do that's going to help you or ground you in your physical well-being and your physical vitality, that's going to help you get clarity on your emotions, right? Or your thinking, right? Or your ego and your achievements. So it's always this kind of like, it's like a broken record and a bad joke in human design of like, follow your strategy and authority. What does that mean? Well, anytime you're like lost in an area, it's because that's what these undefined centers are, right? Those are places of exploration for you to explore. And if you are out there exploring and you're like, how come we haven't like achieved anything? It's because you're out exploring. The achievements, the consistency, again, the reliability is in these defined centers for you, not in the undefined centers. So what about solar plexus authority? So solar plexus authority, and this person has solar plexus authority. Depending on what channel you have, like this person has what's called tribal circuitry. That's going to be this one, and then also this one right here, the 1949. Tribal circuitry is all about, and emotional centers, again, is all about emotional waves. So every human being, whether you have emotional definition or not, every human being experiences emotions. Emotionally defined beings will usually get them in a more, okay, so you have 55, so you have the individual wave, right? It's this middle one right here. Shoot, the 5539. The emotional wave is really about truth, right? It's about something inside you is either resonating with the truth and wants to be spoken to, or something inside you is not resonating with the truth and it needs to be expelled from your body. So typically with the 55 here, 5539, this is a very like provoking channel. And it's like a, you know, it brings on that moodiness, right? It brings on the melancholy. And what it's doing is it's helping you identify the parts of yourself and the way that you feel so that you can be an individual, right? Lols. Yes, exactly. So whenever moodiness or emotional energy comes up and you're like moody, which could be like happy and then suddenly sad and then happy again and then sad and then sad and then sad. That's usually how my melancholy goes. Um, but any of that, just go be alone. Go be alone, write poetry, make music, dance, like be alone with the melancholy because you're not going to solve anything by going and talking to your friends about it or definitely not like ignoring it. That's not going to help at all. Like when the melancholy is there or when the emotional wave is there, go be with the emotional wave, right? I get that, especially with the 2-4. Yes, definitely the 2-4. And this 5539 is all about how you say individual abundance through the accounting of your feelings, right? And that's what that is. So let's see, what do we got going over here in YouTube land? Dragon's Breath was good. Hardest thing is waiting for them to. Oh, we already read that. Realize not always a three. Oh, been there too. Between the Earth in my birth chart and projector 4-6 emotional solar plexus, open crown centers. I only have the root and solar plexus connected. No one is talking about any. Oh wait, do we scroll down? I don't know how to scroll down over here. That's weird. Anyway, if you want to finish that, oh, okay, great. If you want to finish that thought, Brandy, go for it. Where do I find your sacral recalibration? So the sacral calibrations is actually a playlist over here on my TikTok. So it's they're not like super visible on TikTok, but just like in the top bar on my profile page, there's just like little text boxes, and all of my sacral calibrations I put them in a playlist. So if you want to just go ham, super easy to find. Any tips to point people who wouldn't be into HD towards their basic design, especially when you see them in their not self? Any tips to point people who wouldn't be into, yeah, so okay, great question, Adrian. I know what you're talking about now. So when it comes to not self questions, most people will resonate with feeling frustrated or angry, and each of the types has their own. But one thing you can do as like someone who's familiar with human design that's not familiar with human design is knowing how to ask them the right questions. So, for instance, one thing that's helpful is even if they don't believe in human design, they still have a circuitry. So if you're able to get their chart, it's helpful. And when you look at their undefined centers, each of these centers is going to have a not self theme. So this one up here is like trying to solve everyone's problems. This one right here, the ajna, is trying to convince people you're certain of something. The defined throat not self is always trying to get attention for the wrong reasons. The undefined or the not self for the G center is like looking for love and direction outside of yourself. The not self for the heart is going to be trying to prove yourself. The not self for the solar plexus is going to be avoiding confrontation or truth. The not self for the sacral is not knowing when enough is enough. The not self for the root is rushing just to get through something or not moving at an appropriate pace for what you're doing. And the not self for the spleen is not knowing what's good for you. So any of those questions, right, can lead somebody ultimately to the exploration of like, well, how do I not solve everybody else's problems? How do I not attempt to prove myself? And it's like I was saying, come back to your sense of authority. For instance, with this body graph here, we have an open G center, defined solar plexus. If you're looking for love and validation externally with this chart, and maybe possibly like trying to be a problem solver or a people pleaser with this undefined head, the place that I would tell you to go is embrace your community, get touch from your community, and consider how do you feel about your own sense of love and direction? How do you feel about your own problems? Stop externalizing these things and clear up house. So where can we find all these explanations of which gate that you're talking about? So all of the information that I'm talking about, there's two places to get it. You can either get it via a report on my website, which I highly recommend that because the app is amazing, but it can sometimes be overwhelming. There's like a lot of places to start. The report takes you page by page through most important stuff first and kind of like philosophy on how to use human design. And you could also get this app, which the app is wonderful because you can track your friends' charts, you can tag them, you can share them with each other, you can put two charts together. You can do a lot of cool stuff with the app. But if you want the explanations, they are in the app, but they're also in the report, which again, if you like a more linear kind of lesson plan, the report's on my website. Everything is on reikimarco.com. um let's see, it cut me off. I have no one in my life that believes in any of this, so I'm left to YouTube, right? And that's the thing too, is like, when you start learning a new language, like let's say you speak English and you want to learn Japanese, you have to go to Japan to find native speakers, right? It's same with human designs. Like you have to go find the people, and more likely than not, like Brandy, as a projector, I'd love to invite you back to the live, invite you to TikTok, where we have it's like there's more of a chat going on in here in TikTok, um, and a really fun community and stuff. But just, again, you're invited back. Love all the questions you're having, and would love to have you back. So I guess basically what I was trying to say is so much information. It's hard to find good info when you can't have a conversation. So I appreciate the lives. Gives me, yeah, awesome, great. Really happy you're here, Brandy. You as well, Adrian. We got the team YouTube over here. My mom likes watching on YouTube as well. Yeah, and the potentiality that I see with TikTok, because we're at what? We have 31 people in this live. We're at 21,000 likes, which I've only got about like 10, 15 minutes left, you guys. I gotta prep for some sessions today. And so yeah, I'm basically just gonna start wrapping this one up. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. Um like I said, I was off. I kind of like gave myself permission to just not do these lives this last week because I was preparing for a live session. Lols, any recommendations on how to start meditation work? So, number one, like we were saying earlier, meditation is not making the mind quiet or peaceful. It's just watching the mind and being like, oh, isn't that interesting? In a very like dry kind of like I don't really care kind of way. It's like, hey, RPM, rise, piss, meditate. This is what I do. I wake up, I pee, I meditate for at least 5 minutes. If not 5 minutes, 5 minutes sometimes turns into 10, 15, 20, 30. But to get started in meditation, it's more important that you do it every day than that you're doing it for a long time. If you can't find the time that you were born, I would recommend getting this app. You might be able to see it right here. There, it says changes in the next within 12 hours. So plug in your information on this app and then select noon on the day of your birth, and then you can use this to see the difference of like your chart. Sometimes it's a lot of difference and sometimes it's not. You can also call the hospital if you were born in a hospital. Sally, I'm new. I just find you have been trying to understand human design. When will there be another live? So we are going to probably go live tomorrow. So tomorrow around this time, specifically, it's going to be 9 a.m. is when I get on here. um so yeah, that's when I'll be live. And I also have tons of videos on my page. So if you follow me, then you can also do that. I did call the hospital. Yeah, sometimes they don't have the information. And the app is called Neutrino Design. And if you go through the links in my bios, which it'll take you to my website, which has my body graph generator and also a link to Neutrino Design. But if you go through the link in my bio, it'll actually give you 25% off the subscription, which it's only like $37 for the entire year for like the best app ever, which is the best price in terms of subscription I've ever seen. And um, you'll get it at $26 if you go through the link in my website. So, any sounds like you explain things. I did follow you already. Watch your stuff. Awesome. Yeah. And so yeah, so I do explain things. Again, the app has a lot of explanations, but then also my reports, um, which are built on the same software as the app, they especially my Reiki report. There's a lot of information if you want to learn about human design. That's what I created the Reiki reports for. And definitely, yes, I do come here and explain on these lives as well, which is again one of my favorite things about these lives is how like much real-time response that I get, because I do a lot of work to put this stuff out there. And with the lives, it's just like immediate. And also there is a delayed thing of people like, oh, I've been following you, watching your lives for a month, and I've been using your sacred calibrations and life is so good. That's kind of like what keeps me fueling, because I have what's called guilt motivation. And I won't talk about it too much, but if you want to look up your motivation in your human design, it's in the advanced area of your design and your report. But it's like my motivation is guilt. I feel guilty when I don't show up here. And that's great, because I used to be like, oh, avoid the guilt. And it's like, I don't want to put myself in that situation. But it's like, I'm properly motivated by guilt, meaning that if I don't have things that I can connect my guilt to, the guilt is just going to turn into shame. And the difference between guilt and shame, guilt is I did something wrong, shame is I am wrong. So for me, if I'm like, for me, I feel guilty if I don't come live, because not only are there people wanting me to show up, but also this is how I pump the well of my business and create a stream of financial income so that I can pay for our house and feed our family. That's it. Mine is desire. Okay, right. So yeah, so you probably avoid desire, right? Motivation is need. You probably don't tend to your needs. Because again, these are desire, motivation, guilt. These are like not good things in the spiritual world. Oh, you don't want to need anything. You don't want to be guilty for anything. You don't want to desire anything. Like bullshit, bro. Like, what are your needs? What are your desires? Get clear on them. Sometimes with your needs, they're more like wants, and you're outsourcing them to people, right? Fear, right? And so anyway, and with motivation, and maybe we can do that tomorrow, because I actually do have to go. It's so funny. I always like, how do I know when to end the live? Well, I have a session coming up, and then also I have to poop before that session. That's called root pressure, guys. Undefined root pressure. Don't hold your poop I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go do that. Much love to you guys. I'll be on here tomorrow. So tomorrow, 9 a.m. Hawaii time till 10:30, whenever it's time for me to poop. Um, yes, and if you guys want to share the live, please do the live. So I would like to share. What did you say? People, if you're gonna do colors. Oh, colors. I haven't thought about colors. That's pretty advanced stuff, but we can talk about it on the next live, definitely. And I'm gonna try and get one of my buddies, Prana, to show up on one of these lives as well, because he's an OG and he's lit. And anyway, it's time to do the thing, guys. Love you so much. See you tomorrow for at 9 a.m. Hawaii time. Thank you guys for tuning in. Aloha. Have a wonderful day. Bye, Adrian. Bye, Brandy. Thank you guys so much. And yeah, again, if you wanted to come find us on TikTok, the live is a little bit more alive. But also, if you want to like keep holding down the YouTube thing, totally would love that. So I know it's like I need to be in multiple places. But anyway, thanks for your patience with me, guys. And I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.